all the, okay. So it's the before time that you have to do when you're preparing for a class or workshop. And that's what happens when you go on a cruise ship and teaches a class. What I've done is did a kind of snippet of different videos that I've done on cruise ships. And so I kind of squish them down to a shorter video of just more of a summary of the different ships I've been on teaching and what classes I do. It all started going back to history a little bit, is that I juggled many years between two careers. I work in a hospital laboratory as well as I taught watercolors at the same time. And when I retired from the hospital scene back in 2015, I thought, well, what can I do? I want to go full time teaching and do my art, but uh, how do I go about going on a cruise ship? Because I've always been fascinated with cruise ships. So back in 2014, I sent about 10 resumes to different cruise ships and no response. I had my resume and I wasn't expecting anything. But then all of a sudden I Googled watercolor workshops and cruise ships, and what came up is an artist returning from the Queen Mary 2 saying that how it was such a fantastic trip. He taught classes, and at the very bottom of his paragraph, he went through an agency, and all of a sudden a light bulb goes in my head and it says, oh, I have to go through an agency. I can't just send a resume out to a cruise ship and ask to teach classes. So then I went and I looked up the different entertainment cruise agencies. Compass Entertainment is the one I reached out, and I had a phone interview, a Skype interview. I had to send 2 letters of references from 2 art gallery directors, and I was accepted. So in 2015, I was offered to do a 23 nights on the Queen Mary to a round trip transatlantic crossing, leaving New York, goes to England, Germany, England, Halifax, Boston, and to New York. So 23 nights. Never stepped on a ship before. And so I just could, I think the first time I was thinking it must be a scam. This can't be happening to me. But it was true. I just kept on telling my husband, I said, pinch me, I just don't believe I'm here. But anyway, it worked just great. I had a fantastic time on the ship. I was worried about getting seasick. I was worried about everything. But it was fantastic. So I'm just going to go on to my video. It's 11 minutes. It's not long. And I'm sure you're going to have a lot of questions and answers, and I can expand a few things as after the video has gone by. So let's see if this technology works. And I hope that the volume is okay. Because when I first did my practice, the volume was a little bit on the low side. So I tried to adjust my volume. So I'm hoping you can hear it. And if you can't, just give me a shout right away. Or if you can't see the video right away, give me a shout and I'll see if I can fix it. Okay, here we go.
Hello, my name is Bev Morgan. I'm a Canadian artist. I am also an art instructor. I teach watercolors at Southampton Art School and my home art studio. And I also teach online courses through udemy.com. I enjoy cruising. When someone goes on a cruise ship, they're there to enjoy the atmosphere, they're enjoy to relax. They may take a new hobby, watercolors. So that's where I come in. I teach step-by-step instructions on cruise ships to passengers who have never picked up a paintbrush. And usually the first class, I talk about color theory, about our brushes and paper, and I try to instill my passion to them. Many of them have told me after the cruise that they will continue on because they enjoy the hobby and they enjoy the instruction. I have been on the Queen Mary 2 twice, and that ship I needed to teach 4 hours a day. 2 hours in the morning, and I repeat that same class 2 hours in the afternoon. And when we crossed the Atlantic, I was able to do larger projects in watercolors. I have to admit that I was scared. When we left New York, I had nothing to compare. I've never been on a ship, on the ocean, but it didn't take me long to feel very comfortable. It was a smooth sailing across the Atlantic to England. I would always have great memories of this first cruise on the Queen Mary 2. When the boat was docked, it was our time. We went on excursions. I was able to take people off the ship. We went to see Stonehenge, Windsor Castle, Germany, Hamburg. I tried to do a 2-day workshop and a 3-day workshop. So we were able to do a lighthouse painting of the Cove Lighthouse above for the 3-day workshop. So it was fun. It was my first time teaching on a ship, so I learned a lot. So our travels with the Caribbean cruise on the Queen Mary 2, we got to visit the Dominican Republic, St. Lucia, Barbados, St. Kitts, and Antigua. Such a great way to travel, to paint, to meet people, and see some new places. I also teach 1-hour watercolor workshops on other ships. For example, we left Costa Rica, went through the Panama Canal, ended up in Miami, and that was on the Azamara journey. I went on the Celebrity Summit, and it was a round trip to Bermuda, leaving New Jersey. And 5 at the same time. So any questions before you sit down? When someone comes into the watercolor workshop, like I said, it's all for beginners. I expect them to have no knowledge, and I do step-by-step instructions. We have little projects, so that way when they are finished, they have something to show off and show their friends and family. In 2018, we did a round trip from New Jersey to Bermuda on the Celebrity Summit. Now they wanted a 1-hour class for between 60 to 70 people each day while we're at sea. Blowhole. There's a blowhole there. Anybody notice that blowhole? Okay, and the eye. Use only the brush tip to make them very small. So I've seen in past workshops of somebody putting the eye like this big. Okay, so you really want to make sure you just touch it with the black. And did you notice I have want some of these marks. Up here I see little marks on it just a little bit. Again, another brush, soften. I see how the trick of putting it on, soften it. So this time you're not wetting, pre-wetting anything, you're just going right from the black paint. Idea?
Okay, very good.
Okay, excellent. Our last cruise, November 2019, we were on the Azamara journey. We left Barcelona and arrived in Miami. We are on the Azamara journey. As you can see in the background, there is some movement and the waves are a little bit high, but the boat is pretty stable. You can feel the motion a little bit inside, but very comfortable. The temperature must be around 22 degrees. Very comfortable. The boat is on its way to Bermuda. We'll be there in 2 days. This is our free day to go outside and paint. So we'll find out. We'll be leaving soon to sit at a park and do some sketching. I'm hoping anyway. It's November the 18th and we're leaving Bermuda. I did manage to do a plein air painting in the park nearby. So it's finished and we're saying goodbye to Bermuda. Are you having fun? You like that? You like this medium? Oh, you guys are so good. I was testing you. You passed. I'm trying to leave a little bit of white space between the birds. Okay, so now I'm going to rinse my brush. Yellow center. I enjoy cruising because when I visit with these passengers, I enjoy listening to their stories of where their home is and where they're traveling to. It's my connection to them. Cruising gives me the opportunity to share what I do, what I love, watercolors, and travel. So the cruise itself is complimentary for the artist and their guest. The artist pays the agency. It's not free. Each ship requires different requirements from the artist. Another a bonus that I do enjoy is that the artist represents the ships sometimes to go on excursions, so they will have a free excursion. So yeah, there's pros and cons, but it's one way to travel and enjoy your passion. Hello, my name is Beth Morgan. I'm a
Canadian artist. I'm also an art instructor.
Okay.
I teach at Southampton Art School
Okay. So it's
and
the-
my home arts studio.
and I also teach.
I forgot to turn it off.
It's the encore.
All right, so anybody have any comments or questions?
Yes, Bev, I'd like to know if when you do these classes, do you supply everything for the students?
Every ship is different.
Okay.
The Queen Mary 2, I enjoy going because I don't have to bring any art supplies. The Queen Mary 2 is an English from British company, Cunard, and they're connected to Winsor Newton. So Winsor Newton provides a bag for all passengers to purchase, $35 US. That includes a watercolor Cotman kit, three or four brushes, a pad of paper, eraser, a pencil. It has a little container for water, so I don't have to bring anything for that one. Now, mind you, they expected 4 hours a day, so 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon. And so what I did is I taught the same class. And the passengers loved it because if there was a guest speaker that was speaking in the morning, they can come for the afternoon class and not miss anything. Now, the Azamara Journey provided only the watercolor paper. So I had to bring the watercolor paints and brushes. So that was more in my luggage. Now, in the Celebrity Summit, they provided everything except they have the first time I ever used. Has anybody used Blick's liquid watercolors? How they are so intense. I had to figure out how to paint, how to use them. So it took me I was informed by another watercolor instructor, cruise instructor, about what they have and the difficulties she had to teach a 1 hour class for 60 to 70 people with using intense watercolors, not a tube. So I had to figure out how to do that. So that was my most struggling thing. So I didn't have to bring anything, but I sure had, that was a lot of my most challenging classes. So has anybody used the intense watercolor, Blick's watercolors? It's
Oh.
I have the PH Martin's one, the Hydrus watercolors, and they are intense,
oh
like super intense.
yeah. So
Beautiful.
how can it was such a challenging episode of how to do it because you can't make washes, not when you only have 1 hour class. Like it was
Yeah.
I had to make my own little palettes, little plastic plates with silicone, little divisions, so I could put the drop of color in between. So again, it's just a lot of preparation work.
Yeah. So when you prepare their palettes, you do silicone on like little trays, or
That was for the liquid watercolor.
Yeah.
Like
what do you do otherwise?
Otherwise, for the Cunard, the Queen Mary 2, I didn't have to bring anything. The Azamara Journey, I did have plastic plates, and I used a magic marker, and I put ultramarine blue, the colors, the colors that I was using for the workshops. I labeled my plastic plates, and they're easy to transport. They're light. I could just put a dab of paint on the appropriate colors. Those ones were the easiest.
Okay, so they weren't pre-made or anything.
Oh, no. Well, the tubes of paint.
Okay.
Yeah. And for travel, when you travel with watercolors too, it's something a little different. Is that both my husband and I each had a suitcase. So half of my watercolors were divided equally on each two suitcases. Our clothes were divided into two suitcases, and just in case one suitcase gets lost. We've got at least half supplies.
Gee.
Wow.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and when I went to the Azamara journey through the Panama Canal, they were supposed to provide the watercolor paper. Well, I got bored. We got our room. I met with the entertainment instructor assistant, and she says, "Oh, you're here? Yeah, I'm booked to teach a watercolor class." She says, "I don't have any watercolor paper."
Oh,
Oh, no.
I was supposed to teach 8 classes, and I said, well, let me just look in my suitcase. I was planning to do some plein air painting, so I had a pad of Archer's block. Must have been about 18-inch by 12-inch block pad. So I counted how many sheets I had in there, and then I went back to her. I said, well, I can teach 4 1-hour classes for 30 people. That's it. She said, that's fine. So it was a 10-day cruise. I taught 4 hours.
Oh, my goodness.
Fantastic.
And we get nervous about some Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
Bev.
So are you generally paid per student or per teaching session, or how does that work?
I don't get paid at all.
What?
Well, that's right, because you get the cruise for free.
Oh,
That's right.
okay.
That's your compensation. I got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty good
So
compensation.
you cruise absolutely for free?
Pardon?
So you cruise absolutely for free, just for teaching those?
Yeah, but remember that I have to pay the agency, right?
$65
For 2 people.
for 2. Oh, I see.
So
Per
65
day.
per day that you're on the ship. So actually it was $33 for each of us. So $65 for both of us. So
For both of them.
yeah. So when you were thinking about the Queen Mary 2, like that was the first time I've been on, I think I saw it was about $27,000 for 2 people.
Okay. Wow.
That was a special cruise too, because they were celebrating their 175th birthday. So we got to enjoy all the extra activities, and it's beautiful ship. Like I was so worried when we went on the Azamara journey because it was half the size going across the Atlantic of the Queen Mary 2. I thought it'd be a lot of motion, but it wasn't. But the Queen Mary 2, you don't even know you're moving. Like when you go inside that ship and the waves are up and down, you don't even know you're moving. Your cup of water, you don't even see the movement in the cup of water.
Wow. That's a
Was
high
that because-
end.
Was that because you just had really good weather, or is it because the ship is so wonderful?
Both. But I think that it's made for the oceans, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't. The shape at the bottom is different than other ships. Like other ships are like an oval at the bottom. Well, the Queen Mary 2 is like straight down. Like it has I don't know what it is, but
A keel.
that's it.
It's like a sailboat.
Yeah. So it's a different ship. So yeah, you don't even feel the movement. I was really scared to go on a cruise ship. I went on YouTube before I went on the Queen Mary 2, and there was a man was filming in December. He was outside with his movie camera, and you can see the water splashing. The pool water was going up and down, and they walked through the doors, and you don't even see any movement. And that made me feel better that you could be awful outside, but then inside you don't even feel it. There was a few days, I forget what, I think it was the Azamara, that the winds were it was so much. They had passengers were not allowed to go in the upper decks because of the water spray of the wind and the water. So they had yellow ribbons on the doors. Nobody was allowed to go on the deck. But yet inside the ship, you don't even notice it.
My brother used to be a ship's captain on a tanker, was round around the world. And he said that each person has their own rhythm and that works with them. And we grew up, my father had a sailing boat, and I was always sick on the sailboat. Never outgrew that. And I thought I was the only person in the world. Nobody told me it was common.
Mm.
But my brother, never sick on the sailboat, but he got sick on the big ship. And when I was saving up money for working in for university, I worked on the Great Lakes ships for 3 years, off and on. And we went through every kind of storm right up till Christmas, Lake Superior in December and that sort of thing. And never bothered me at all. I watched the men who were sailors from Newfoundland mostly. I watched them get sick all around me. So I think we each have our rhythm. And on a big ship like that, you don't feel so much.
Well, I got seasick on a small boat. Where was it, in Florida and the Keys. I was sick to my stomach like for all the time I was on there. So I was
Yeah.
really, that was about 25 years ago. But the thing is, I was worried. That's what I was going to have. Like I said to the agency, I said, "What happens if I get seasick?" Well, you don't teach. She said,
Yeah.
Yikes.
Bev, I noticed one of the issues would be teaching in a lounge with little tiny round tables and beautifully pale upholstered furniture.
that was one of the worst places, I have to say.
Yeah.
I was warned about it from another teacher. I met Amy, and Amy teaches Alaskan cruises and on the ship. And she sent me an email of a little video of where they gave her the space to teach. So she pre-warned me about it's only a 2 feet round lounge tables, and that was the one that had the liquid watercolors, and they wanted me to teach 60 to 70 people. So that was my most challenging time. I went through it, I got it, and Amy was on the ship because we became good friends. Like she's an instructor in California for the Alaskan cruises, so she went on the Bermuda ship with me. But yeah, it was good. Yeah.
So is it your husband assist you in any way in setup and such?
Yes, I could not go on teaching on a ship without someone to help me. I could not do it alone. I have to admit that he set up, and if someone needed more ultramarine blue, he was there. He chased. He did all the running around. He helped clean up. Like we have to do setup and cleaning up. Usually when we get back from a teaching class, our queen size bed is full, have blanket. Always ask for an extra blanket. Is all our palettes and our brushes. Like I clean everything between the ship's class because I'm always worried about Norwalk fires. Because if I provide the art supplies, I'm afraid the brushes, if they're not cleaned well enough, any passing in a Norwalk virus to somebody else. So our bed is just full of cleaning after each shift. So it takes a good hour, and I let it while we're at supper. Everything's drying, so when we come back from supper, we just pack everything up the next day, and then we're ready to go. But it's the organization. You have to be organized. That's the thing. And I just got an email from one of my agencies just yesterday saying that they were closed for a whole year because of COVID, and they're hoping to start up again booking instructors in July. So we'll see.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did you choose your subjects that you had your students work on?
Well, the Bermuda one, the Celebrity Summit, they told me I have to do the something related to Bermuda. So I did investigating of what Bermuda pictures I have. The Queen Mary 2 was open, and what I really enjoyed going across the Atlantic is that you've got that 2 days or 3 days. I can do a 2-day and 3-day workshop. So I could do bigger projects with them. Instead of an hour is so fast, you have to get it done within the hour. But when you have the time, 2 or 3 days, a 2-hour workshop, there's 6 hours there you can play with. You can show them a little bit more and have fun. And Another thing I've done, I do custom matting and framing and matting, and I bring some mats. And you know how has an instructor that once you show the students with the mat, how their project turns out so well, and they're so pleased. All of a sudden, it just stands up, right? So I can see people nodding. You know, it's just like, yeah. Once you put a mat on watercolor, it makes a big difference.
So how did you go from teaching on land to all of a sudden teaching on the water? Like, did you contact the agency? Did they contact you? How did that come about?
Well, initially I sent my resume to all the cruise ships and no response back. And then I heard that they're through agencies. So what I did is I applied on, my first one was Compass Entertainment. And I had phone interview, a Skype interview. They had a letter of references from two art director, gallery directors, and my experience. I have a resume of my experience, and then I was accepted from them because of my of that. And but she gave me the first. All artists are given list of all the different cruises for what's happening the next year. So you apply your first choice, second choice, and third choice. Well, she gave me my first choice, the Queen Mary 2 on the 23 nights. I round trip to Atlantic crossing. And that was the first time. And I didn't know what I was doing. If I was getting sick for 23 nights, I didn't know. But I applied. But to answer your question, Shelley, yeah, I applied. And then I applied for a second agency and I got it right away because of my past experience on Compass.
Cool.
Yeah, but then I have a third agency, but I just got it this 2019, so I never even got to the third one yet, but it's through the agencies.
What were the other agencies?
Okay, the
Did
other
you say
one,
one of them was 6-star or something?
6-star. Yeah, that's the one that I had the Celebrity Summit trip. The other one is Cruise and Speakers Association. It's just a brand new one. I tell you the truth, I don't know anything about them because I just got listed on theirs before COVID, so I don't know yet. But again, you get an email. You could get an email like that maybe an instructor couldn't make a cruise. Well, then you get an email saying, who wants to go on this cruise? And the rate is $65, so they're down to 40 a day. So if they want an instructor bad enough, and I've had that they would pay for your airfare. And that's another thing, is that you have to pay for your own way to get to the port. When they're really desperate for a cruise instructor, there might be a little glitch there that they'll pay for the airfare for the artist, but not for the guest. So you really have to look at the fine print.
So do you only teach on the boat, not off of the boat? Like you don't like maybe go to I don't know, a historical landmark with a group or anything like that? You just do it all on the ship?
Just on the ship, yeah.
Okay.
But what I have done is take you off plein air painting. And if I find that there's an interest of especially of artists who enjoy plein air painting, we would make a trip to go somewhere because I enjoy plein air painting. And that's another thing I should show you guys. Well, I don't know if you can see it or not.
Hold it up a little higher.
I'm just going to spotlight. Here we are. Okay, so I have a book. This is my cruise book. And again, it's you can, I don't know if you can see that with the back. Let me just share like that.
That's better.
But anyway, it's my journal.
Very nice.
Of sketching.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah, so so when I go on a trip, I try to record as much detail as I have for that location. So if I go back, like the Bermuda, I've been there twice now. I know where to go for plein air painting because I've been there a few times, and so I record. This is my go-to for plein air, and I still got pages left. I want to do some more travel cruising on here. So this is my journal.
You let people thumb through that, like it's almost a sample if they come early to class?
No, not really. It's really personal. But I shared it to the people that went plein air painting with me, and they were able to look through it. But yeah, and usually during the class, no, not really. It's really it's a lot of personal stuff. It's my views of different places I've been, who I was with, and what I smelled, you know, if there was a bakery nearby, you know, all the senses that you put into when you do plein air painting. But it's one of those things I would go back in an instant. Like COVID scares me, but you know what? This is going to be over, and I would say in 3 years. Like most people would be vaccinated, and I felt that being on a cruise ship, they approach infection control really strict. They have hand sanitizers everywhere. I haven't been on a ship where there's a spread of Norwalk outbreaks, but because that's what you heard in the past. They want to make sure that the cruise is wonderful for a passenger. They'll do as much as they can to prevent any discomfort. Even the captain said that a few times. The weather is kind of choppy. He's going to deviate around the storm or the ocean if because he says I'm here for your comfort. Like I'm not trying to save time or fuel. I want to make sure you have a wonderful time on the ship.
That was just fabulous. So any more questions? We have Bev for a little while longer.
I just had a question. So the fee that you pay the agency, is that considered like a nominal fee towards your meals, or is it just for the agency?
That's for the agency. They're the ones who gets all the connections. They're the ones who gets all the requests. Now, it's not just art instructors. They get a request for musicians, get gentlemen hosts, priests, ministers.
Wow.
Needed. And there's usually 6 or 8 cabins associated for guest speakers. So there's an area usually on the ship for the people are more transient, like people just come and go on the ship. So we've met a few guest speakers that come from all over the world, and they have their time that they have to do too as well on the ship.
I don't know if everybody knows David McCowan or Dominic Malowitsky, our members. They do adventure travel, so they're doing Antarctic. And I remember when they've started, David spoke at our AGM a few times. They go direct, I think, but they're very outdoorsy people themselves anyway, and had already been painting on location in the high Yukon, in Bear Country.
I heard David speak before too, and and I would love to do that. You know, if somebody paid me to go somewhere.
He said at the beginning it was he didn't pay a fee. He didn't pay the cruise costs, but he didn't get paid either. But anything he sold, I think he got to keep. And of course, then he makes paintings after and they're available online. But he also said that they're part of the cruise, so they might be put on shore and they have to. People walking past have to go right past him, you know, so he's sort of a safety issue when you're on a small cruise in the remote part of the world. You know, it's all about fire drills and being medical if you have to be.
Yeah, and that was another thing is that being part of the crew, I was able to put my name down for different excursions. So I was responsible, like say a busload of people going to Stonehenge, and I was able to put my name down, and I was the host. I was representing the ship. They gave me a clipboard of if there's any injuries of any passengers. I had to do a summary of what happened. If they trip and fall and hit their nose, or if the bus breaks down, I have a contact to the ship, so that way they know that there'll be another 3-hour delay before the passengers get back on. From that responsibility, I was provided with a free excursion. So that was another thing. I went on a submarine in Bermuda, all these extra things that you don't think about, that you can go and have excursions, and for us it was a way to travel and just to express my pleasure and to show people how fun it is to do watercolors, like they never used a brush before. And they were all shocked at how their painting was at the end. So it was my pleasure just to show them, like, it was good.
Have you done anything on a river boat in Europe? Something smaller?
No, because they don't request instructors on river boats. As far as I know, my agency doesn't have. Maybe they're listening, because I wish it was. I would enjoy that.
Have you always had such a sense of adventure? I mean, it takes a little more than average nerves to start an adventure like this.
Well, this is the first time that I'm doing this. Like, to be doing something like this. It was out of my comfort zone. And like I said in the very beginning, I thought this was a scam at the very beginning, till I got there, because we drove to New York from Ontario to leave on the first ship. And the first time I thought, I hope this is not a scam. I hope this is not a scam. It wasn't. Like, once I got on board, okay, I'm here. It was a surprise.
Bev, you are having a wonderful adventure, and I really admire your enthusiasm and your communication skills. I think that has taken you a long way, and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, did your husband actually video you while you were teaching on the ship?
Sometimes, and sometimes other people would, and then they would send me the video. But mostly my husband did. And yeah, I could not have done it without him, for sure. Like, you need somebody. And yeah, and I've also got to know other instructors from around the world. Like, an Australian instructor that went around, she wanted information about the Queen Mary 2 from Australia. So we Zoomed from Australia because she wanted more information. So it was good. It was, yeah, I would, I love it. I really enjoy it. I haven't had bad weather or seasick yet. So, but I bring all those extra things, like the patch, the ear patch, and I bring all the anti-nausea pills that I could think of.
That would make me so sleepy. I'd be like, oh, falling asleep halfway through.
Have you done anything in the Pacific?
No. I really do, though. Because I've got friends out in Vancouver or California that I can visit at the same time. But my friend Amy last year, and she was telling me that she was caught. She was doing a world tour. And she was Australia, and she was on the Queen Mary 2, and it was tense because everything was closing up. All the ports were closing up, and so it was intense. But that's another thing, is that once you're on board, you can't get off.
Yeah,
Not very easily, anyway. So when you actually go on the ship, do they give you your choice, or they wouldn't give you your choice of where your accommodations are? Do you get very good accommodations?
We have, so far, we've always had a port window. And
Okay.
there's usually a set location on the ship for any transient instructors. Like, like I said, there's usually 8 cabins for guest speakers, art instructors, priests, ministers, so there's usually a little area that they set aside, and it usually has a port window.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Just as another option, if anybody's interested in doing the cruises, certainly, Bev, this sounds very, very exciting and a wonderful way to travel and meet lots of people. I also did a cruise, but it was not through an agency like you were, and I wasn't available to everybody on the ship. I have a good travel agent, and they made arrangements through Holland America for me to take a group of students on an Alaska trip. And so we traveled up the Inside Passage, and I think I had to have 8 people signed up. So they had to be 8 total, even if there were 2 together. So I had to sell 4 rooms. and I got my trip for free, and I also got paid by the students. So that covered my airfare, and I had to teach them. They were my guests basically, and so I would go on excursions with them if I felt like it. But my requirement was to teach 2 hours. I think I taught 4 times during the whole trip, 2 hours. So it was 8 hours of teaching, and I got the cruise and my airfare and everything for free. Now, I couldn't take a guest, which would have been very nice, but that's another option. But it is a lot of work to get ready for. You have to do your own advertising and solicit the guests. So that's sort of what it was. But it's another way to do it, and that you arrange through your own travel agent, and you talk to them and say, how many people do I need to get together for me to get a free trip? And they'll tell you. And sometimes, as in my case, they even had people already booked on that cruise. So I got the credit for people that weren't even taking the workshop. So I ended up, I think, with 6 students that I spent time with, and that was it. So that was a pretty nice way to go too.
Mhm.
And I didn't have to take their supplies. So Bev, have you talked to any of the paint manufacturing companies, such as Winsor Newton or Holbein Golden, for example, that they might actually do up the little palettes for you with their products and provide that for free?
Get some
No.
sponsorship.
That's great. That's great.
That's a good idea.
That is something that I know that a number of the companies do. I mean, that usually people get a little pack. It's like it looks like egg carton material, but it's wax inside. And, it opens up and they've got their little dots of paint, and, those would be easy for you to get and to travel with. So.
Great idea.
Yeah. I think Daniel Smith makes those and uses those for that kind of thing.
I'm sorry, who was that?
I think Daniel Smith does.
Yeah, a lot of the companies do that, and because it's an opportunity for them to do some advertising and get their products out. So
For
Great
sure.
idea. Yeah, I love sharing ideas like this. Like, this is wonderful, and I know I've heard other artists taking groups to different excursions. But you're right, Linda. It's a lot of promotion.
It is. It's a lot of work, and you're also tied to those students through the whole trip. So you don't just get to teach them for a few hours and say bye-bye. You do have to just be friendly to them or sit with them during dinner or something from time to time, and that was it. But
so I've been on to 3 different plein air painting classes. I don't know if you guys know Lynn Soudier.
Oh, yes.
And so Lynn has taken us to Portugal, to Italy, into France, to 3 different. So that's what she did. She took a group of artists and she took us to those places for a couple of weeks, and we had a great. That's how I really got to know plein air painting, just through Lynn Soudier. But it's a lot of work and a lot of planning. There's pros and cons to both. But I just enjoy travel, and I love sharing my passion.
I remember talking to Karen Richter, I believe, of Alberta, I remember, and she'd taken people to Queen Charlotte Islands on a fairly small boat, like a sailboat size. I don't know how that worked out for her, but she has connections to that area.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's almost time to wrap this up. If anyone has any other questions for Bev. And for everyone else, thank you for your contributions to this. That was very interesting. Also now, this possibly will give anyone with an adventurous spirit something to think about. Step outside of your little box, have a little bit of freedom after we feel the freedom from COVID to start traveling again. And something that, I'm not a plein air painter, but I had thought, this was pre-COVID, that we as a group could have a get together and do a plein air session for a weekend or for one day, depends on how far everyone wants to travel, and it'd be open to the whole society. So we'll see what happens next summer. We're going to table that. But any ideas like this? So if you have, for those of you who are new to our group now, you could see how wonderful it is to have sharing. Now it's, we don't always have real glitches, but we get through it to get the sharing going, and it's fine. So anyone who wants to volunteer or has an idea of something we could do in our monthly meetings, send me an email. I mean, we're all in this together. Let's connect with our art. So nice to see everyone. Does anyone else have any questions for Bev?
No, but thank you so much, Anita, for organizing, and Bev for preparing your video and presentation. That was great. Thank
Yeah,
you.
definitely.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Thank you, Bev.
This-
That was lovely. Thank you.
This video is recorded. I hope that everyone did get the recording from the last time. I will send it. And if Sam, our new president, wants to play this for the society, she might want to do that. So she'll probably, we need your approval on that, Deb. Because I think it'd be very interesting, and it's something, I think some of these meetings, I've been asked to make this across the whole CSPWC. So, but when we share these recordings, I think everybody gets a benefit from it. So thank you all for coming, and we'll see you June 24th, I believe it is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Special thanks, Bev. Okay.
Bye.
A great week.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.